Jason Bowers here, and welcome to my channel. Today's topic, guys, I really want to talk about something that I have a lot of conversations with people that kind of are seeking advice and guidance around making a big decision, and that's choosing to take another job or to change jobs. And we've all been in that situation. There's the majority of us don't get a job in our early to mid 20s and work at that job our entire life. We've had some job changes, maybe looking to figure out what is our career path. What do we looking to do for the rest of our life? I know I did myself, from the diverse beginning of I think where everybody cuts their teeth is fast food and waiting tables, to the military, to retail management, and here I am now in financial services. And it took me until my mid 30s to find my calling, if you will. And I'm glad that I did, but I'm also glad that I have that diversity of job experience in my early years to create kind of who I am and my decision-making process and my values. And I've learned my values from other people, and especially my father, but also learned my values through trial and error and maturing and reflection, and as well as those important life experiences that we don't necessarily realize are important at the time. But I tell you what, in hindsight, God, some of those lessons are invaluable. So when it comes down to changing jobs, whether it's a forced change, where maybe our job was eliminated, the company goes out of business, you have to leave due to some circumstances outside of your control, there's not a lot of flexibility there. You're almost being forced to make the decision. But the one that I really want to focus on today is the voluntary job change, the one where maybe you're being recruited away, or you stumble into what you feel is a much better opportunity. And I lead with that because for most people, that better opportunity is typically income related. That can be a slippery slope when you're basing a significant life change. And changing a job is significant for most of us, especially if we're married and we have kids and an entire life. There's a lot of impact that's going to come with that. The biggest challenge is understanding, as a person who's excited about this life change, is now this, because of that excitement and that anticipation and the vision of what life could be like with more income, it leads to an emotional decision. And part of my role for my clients and the people that I work with that trust me is I remove the emotions from those decision-making processes. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's important to have that relationship with somebody, that you're working with a professional that can help you with those decisions. So you need to find somebody that you know, that you like, and that you trust, that when you're presented with a life-changing decision like this, that you're not making it on your own, somewhat impulsively, maybe reactionary, with a lot of emotion involved, that you can sit down with somebody and they can help you flip over every stone, every aspect that goes into that decision-making process. You need to be aware of it. And it's not always just about making more income. And I want to discuss some things today around what are some other things that are key factors in making that decision. And it might be there's a tremendous amount of income and you're getting a significant raise, but that raise can be eaten up and almost eliminated, or even regress from an overall benefits and compensation package standpoint, if you don't look at all aspects. So I'm going to talk about some hypotheticals, and I know that not everybody's situation is the same, but this is why discussions need to be had. And I think that sometimes we make decisions and then we look in hindsight and we say to ourselves, if I only knew then what I know now, I may have made a different choice. You never want to put yourself in that position. What you'd rather do is say, I did the best that I could then. I talked to a couple different people about making the decision. We talked about all different aspects. And looking back, I feel like I should have made a different choice, but it's not because of a lack of information. It's because now you have the gift of hindsight. You have the gift of what those variables have now become a reality. And yes, you still might be in a position where you wish you would have stayed, or wish you would not have changed that job. But you don't want that hindsight to be rooted in a lack of education, in a lack of conversation. So here are some of the things that you need to consider, even outside of an income increase. But I do want to talk for just a few quick seconds about that income increase. And look, it could be 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, a percent of your income, whatever it may be that you're increasing due to this job change. But some things to think about that are simply impacted by that additional income is, does it put you into a higher tax bracket? And look, we'd all love to reside in the highest tax bracket. That means we're making a ton of money. There's clients that complain about the taxes they have to pay. And I say, if you'd like to, you could be in a lower tax bracket. Like, no, I'm good. I'm good in that upper tax bracket. We all would like to be there. But it comes as a surprise to some people. They look at that, I'm getting a $20,000 increase to my salary. That's great, but there's taxes due on that. And if it puts you into a higher tax bracket, and then say the effective tax rate on that new income is simple math, 20% on that 20,000, well, that 20,000 becomes 16 real quick. It can have a tremendous impact. And that's just from federal taxes. And you back out some state taxes and other taxes that are due on that. And the net income to your bank account is not nearly close to that 20 grand that we were talking about. But some of the other things I'd like to discuss that are not as obvious as that are, what about your overall benefits package? What if you're leaving a job that has a 5% match in the 401k for a job that has a 3% match? That 2% match of your salary, that's free money that your employer is trying to give you into your retirement account. Well, your new employer is going to end up giving you less. So if you're getting a 10% increase and that 10% becomes, call it 15%, I'm sorry, a 7% increase after taxes and things of that nature, but now you're also losing 2% on your 401k match. You see how it's dwindling down that true increase? Group benefits in general. What is going to be the cost of your new group benefits? Is the life insurance a little bit more expensive? Do they have caps on the coverage? What about health insurance? What about long-term and short-term disability? Other health benefits and group insurances that are available at your current job that may not be available at your new job, or maybe they're more expensive. And heaven forbid they're more expensive, or they create gaps in coverage that you didn't have before, and now you have to have some private insurance. And you can see how that 10% increase is now getting whittled away. If you get to the point where it becomes a negative increase, where yes, my salary is going to be higher on paper, but at the end of the day, I'm making less, or basically what I'm making now, you want to sit in that for a while, because that's where the decision needs to be made, is when you uncover all of those facts. And those are just the financial aspects. When you talk about the other financial aspects that are not as obvious, you're looking at things like changing careers creates uncertainty. So you need to have a strong emergency fund. And you may end up dipping into that emergency fund a couple times in order to maintain your financial livelihood, as maybe you're missing a paycheck, but it's not a seamless transition from one job to the next from a direct deposit standpoint. Maybe you get an unfurnished office and you have to have an outlay of desks and furniture. There's so many other aspects that can have a short-term financial impact to that job change. Long-term financial impact that's not necessarily tangible. What about commuting? What if it's a longer drive? Are you able to work from home now when now you have to go into the office? Is there required travel? Even if you get reimbursed for that, there's still that initial outlay and the cash that you need to spend today before you even get reimbursed. So there's a lot of aspects that financially have to be considered. And that's where sitting down with somebody, blank white pad, pros and cons, and start adding up some of those numbers to see what the true net increase to your overall income after taxes, new expenses, and loss of benefits truly is. Now here's the fun part, the mental aspect of that job change. It's the old adage, the devil you know is sometimes better than the devil that you don't. And I talk to my partner about this all the time, and she's in a great career at a great company, but she has some frustrations at certain moments in time. And what would the grass be greener elsewhere? Will it be if we get a new boss, is that boss has to be better than the one we have now, or they could be worse than the one that we have now. And the one that now is not a variable. The one in the future could be better, could be worse. And it's same thing with a job change. If you're in a situation where I need to leave now because my leader is insert negative adjective here, and you think that going to a new job is going to solve that problem. Could it? Absolutely, it could. But it's still a variable, because it could be worse. Your new boss at your new job could be completely worse than the one that you have now. And in hindsight, you're like, wow, my old boss really wasn't as bad compared to the one I have now. And that's tough to land on, because you don't really truly know what working for that person is going to be like. What, maybe not just your boss, but the direct supervisor that you're going to report to. Heck, what about your coworkers? There's so many variables in there that it's the mental aspect. It's the quality of life. Again, the devil is better than the devil that you don't. And very rarely do we put ourselves in a position, or we're blessed to be in a position where we love the people we work with, we love our superiors, and everything is hunky-dory. Everywhere that you work is going to have some people that you simply don't jive with. Very rarely do you want that to be the tipping point, the tipping factor in making that career change, but it is something that you have to consider. Even if they're offering you, a 40% pay increase, you still have to evaluate, is it worth it when you back out all of the expenses and loss of benefits potentially and tax rates and see what that true net number is, as well as brand new variables you cannot touch. That's when you factor everything into consideration, and it allows you to remove the emotion from that decision-making process. I tell you what, there's been more than enough times when I'll have a client or somebody that trusts me and they share things like this with me, and Jason, I've already made this job change, and they want to talk about it, and I'm like, I'm happy to listen. I can't necessarily advise you because like that toothpaste is out of the tube. You want to put yourself in a position where if you are offered that job change, that you think about those things, but that's only half the battle. You need to have somebody that you trust, somebody that has experience with this. Look, you can trust a family member, but if they don't have really any experience in this, or they don't have the ability to think about all of the things we've talked about today, that's going to be a tough conversation. You don't want to surround yourself with yes people that are going to be as excited as you for this job change, because boom, there's some more emotion involved in the decision making. We're trying to remove that. So to have that professional that has no skin in the game when it comes to this job change, that is trained and has the experience to guide you through the landmines that you don't even know are there. That conversation that I'm going to have with the next person is going to be better than the one I had with the last person, because I'll have more experience. I'll know what to talk about. I can tap into their results of that job change if they chose to do that, and use that as experience to have a better conversation with people in the future. But at the end of the day, it's not all about income. There's quality of life, there's quality of benefits, there's understanding the true impact of that increased income. And even if it is an increased income, what are some other benefits that you're losing? Do you have right now the biggest office in the complex, and you're going to a place where you're going to be the new person, and you might be working in a cubicle? Like there's so many different things to consider. But I tell you what, I've made career changes in my life, and it can be exciting and it can be fun. And there's nothing better than taking yourself out of maybe something that is a job and transition to something that you see as a career. That transition to financial services for me was that exact moment that once I got into this career, I knew this was going to be my career. It's no longer just a job. And everything I had before that, I felt like was very much a job. Going to make money, to come home, to spend the money, and live life. It wasn't a quality of life from a job perspective. So I've been down this path. I've been in that position where you're excited. God, I can't wait. This is a great opportunity. But there's a reason why I went through 7 interviews before I transitioned into the financial services industry. I was trying to uncover every stone, asking a million questions, getting advice from people that were important to me, that I trusted their valuable, honest, and intentional guidance. And I wish I would have done this sooner, but it just wasn't the right time in my life. And I'm glad I did it when I did, and I was fully prepared to do so. But it did not come without having some great conversations with some great people to try to uncover all of those different things that I wasn't thinking about in that emotional, exciting time. So hope you guys found some value in today's video. Again, before you make that life-changing event of changing a career, or in really any life-changing event, whether it's relocation, when it's time to retire, whatever it may be, sit down and chat with somebody that understands your situation and can remove that emotion from that decision. Because I'll tell you what, it's going to be a game changer when it comes to your confidence level in your decision to either stay in your current role or to take that new job. And you'll feel better about those decisions. So enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to chatting with you soon.